Have you ever wanted to make your own Rilakkuma T-shirts? Well, now you can with 2 easy and quick methods. Yeah! Let's get started. For the first way, you're going to need a really thin mesh fabric. I'm using organza. I got it at Joann Fabrics. You can get it at any fabric store or craft store. It has to be very thin, like see-through. It has to be have very tiny holes in it. You're also going to need an embroidery hoop. You can also find these at any fabric store. I got these at Michael's, I believe. I think they have them at Walmart too if your Walmart has a craft section. They're usually only about $1, $1.50. The first thing you're going to want to do is put the fabric inside of the embroidery hoop. If you've never used an embroidery hoop before, all you have to do is take out the inside ring, lay down your fabric on the larger ring, and then put the little hoop back on top of it, and then twist the clamp to tighten it, and it'll hold the fabric in place. You're going to want to pull the organza or whatever fabric you're using as tight as you can to make the screen as tight and as taut as it can be. Then you're going to want to cut the excess fabric from around your hoop so it's easier to work with. Then you're going to take your design. I just printed out this picture of Rilakkuma, and I know his eyes look really creepy, but it's not going to matter when you're drawing it onto the fabric. I'll put the link to this picture in the description. So you're just going to take your hoop now, and you're going to lay it on top of the design with the fabric closest to the paper. And then holding it still, you're just going to trace whatever design you want onto the fabric using a pencil or a pen, it doesn't matter. For this design, I don't want the inside of his face to be painted, so what I'm going to do is draw another line on the inside of the first line so that when I screen print it, it'll make just an outline of his face, if that makes sense. So this is what it will look like. So basically, you're going to want to paint the inside of his face in its entirety, then the inside of his mouth and nose, the inside of the top of his ears, and then all around the outside as far to the edge as you can go. Then you're going to use Mod Podge, which is a waterproof glue, and you're going to paint everywhere that I just stated. And basically what this is going to do is fill in all of the holes in the fabric so that when you paint on top of it, it's basically making it kind of like a stencil. Make sure you go nice and slow when you're painting and don't glob it on like I just did. Make sure that you're not letting it drip down into the areas that you don't want Mod Podge, because otherwise the paint won't go through. Once it's dry, you can hold it up to the light and it'll help you see the little holes that you missed. I highly recommend using a paint specifically made for fabric. I'm using screen printing ink by Speedball. It's a really good fabric ink that can be heat set, and then you can actually wash it in the wash and it won't come out. Next, I'm going to put a piece of cardboard inside of the shirt, and this does 2 things. 1, it gives me a harder surface to work on while I'm painting, and 2, it also protects the back of my shirt, because while I'm painting, I'm using a lot of paint and I don't want it to soak through to the other side of the shirt so that it's on the back. Next, you're going to lay your screen on your shirt where you want it. I'm just doing it in the middle, and then you're going to use your paintbrush to paint on the ink on the places where you left the gaps on the fabric. So I'm just painting it all on his face. Then you're going to slowly and carefully pull off your screen and see a beautiful Rilakkuma. And I know this is kind of messy looking. There's some dots here and there. But overall, I think it came out really cute. So yay. The good thing about these screens is that you can reuse them over and over, making multiple prints with the same screen. Just make sure that you wash it immediately after you screen print so that the paint does not dry, because if the paint dries in those little tiny holes, then you can't use it anymore. I use a hairdryer to dry the ink a little quicker, and then you have to heat set this ink. So what I did is I just laid it out on an ironing board and set my iron to a cotton setting, which is one of the highest settings on an iron. And then I just took a little piece of fabric to kind of buffer between the heat and the ink, and then I just moved my iron over it for about 10-15 seconds just to really heat set the ink so it won't come out when you wash it. For the second design, I'm just going to be using his face, not the outline of his head. And to do this, you're going to use contact paper or like transparent sticky paper. It's just transparent and you pull the back off. You're just going to want to cut out a piece that's big enough for the design and then trace his face onto the paper side. And then you're going to want to cut out his eyes and his snout. And don't cut through the mouth part because you're going to want to also cut that out, and we're going to use that also later. Then when you've cut out all the pieces, and you're going to peel the sticky back off of the contact paper and stick it on your shirt where you want the Rilakkuma face to be. Then you're going to unstick his mouth and just place it in the middle of his snout. And make sure that it's stuck really well to the shirt or whatever you're going to screen print. Then using the same process as before, you're just going to use your paintbrush and paint in the areas on top of the contact paper, using it as like a stencil. And then, like before, you're just going to peel off the contact paper to reveal your design. Then, just like before, I'm going to use a hairdryer to speed up the drying process and then iron it to heat set the ink. And there you have 2 quick and easy ways to screen print your own t-shirts, bags, whatever you want. You can even do it to the walls if you want to. So, I hope everyone enjoyed this video, and if you make this, leave a video response. I'd love to see what you make. And I love you guys. Bye!